Good morning, boys and girls. We're watching this video on Zoom today, but just in case you weren't able to make the Zoom or you want a refresher, I'm just going to record the video here and give a little explanation as it is playing. So this is topic 8.3, equivalent fractions with division.
How can you use division to find equivalent fractions?
Let's find out.
In early May, Fairbanks, Alaska has daylight for 18/24ths of the day. What are some fractions equivalent to 18/24ths? Fairbanks has daylight 18 hours a day in May. Why is this 18/24ths of a day?
We can think about here how many total hours are there in a day, and that's 24, right? So think of that as like your denominator. That's how many make up the total day, 24 hours. And for 18 of those hours, Fairbanks has daylight. So that's why 18/24ths, 18 out of 24 is how we get this fraction.
There are 24 hours in a day, and 18 out of 24 hours is 18/24ths. You need to find some fractions equivalent to 18/24ths. What does the model represent? It represents a 24-hour day. The blue part of the model represents the hours of daylight. What does the gray part represent?
So if the blue represents how many hours a day there's daylight, then the gray would have to represent how many hours it is dark out.
The gray part of the model represents the nighttime hours. The blue and gray parts combined represent all of the hours in a day. A common factor is a factor two or more numbers have in common. To find equivalent fractions, divide the numerator and the denominator by a common factor greater than 1.
If you guys remember when we did factors, you found all the factors of a number, and there was one point where I had you finding the greatest common factor, and that's a factor that two numbers have in common. So we're going to need to know that information to do equivalent fractions with division. You're going to need to recall that information, which is why knowing factors was so important. So you're going to be using that, and they're going to show you how in the video, and then I'll show you some additional problems.
Two common factors of 18 and 24 are 2 and 3. Divide the numerator and denominator by 2. If the day is split into 2-hour sections, what fraction of the day is daylight?
So they picked 2 because you can divide 18 by 2 and you can do 24 divided by 2. That is a factor that both of these numbers have in common. You can divide both numbers by 2 evenly. And just like when we found equivalent fractions with multiplication, when we divide, we have to do the same thing to the numerator and the denominator. It has to be by a whole fraction. So 2 over 2 or 3 over 3 or 4 over 4 or 5 over 5, whatever you're doing, it has to be the same numerator and denominator, which is why they're dividing by 2 over 2.
18/24ths divided by 2 halves equals 9/12ths. 9 of the 12 2-hour sections represent daylight. 18/24ths of a day is equal to 9/12ths of a day. Divide the numerator and denominator by 3. If the day is split into 3-hour sections, what fraction of the day is daylight?
So again, you have to divide the numerator and the denominator by the same, 3 over 3. So 18 divided by 3 is 6. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So you can say 6/8. And you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 8 total that is shown in the model.
18/24ths divided by 3/3 equals 6/8. 6 of the 8 3-hour sections represent daylight.
Now, those are not the only numbers I can do here. If I know of other factors that 18 and 24 have in common, I can definitely divide by those numbers. Like, for example, 18 and 24, 18 24ths. We divided by both 2 and 3, right? But I happen to know that both these numbers can also be divided by 6. So I'm going to divide by 6 over 6. I'm not sure why that's shaking. You can just ignore that. 18 divided by 6 is 3. And 24 divided by 6 is 4. So 3/4 is also another fraction that is equivalent to 18 24ths.
18 24ths of a day is equal to 6/8 of a day. 18 24ths, 9 12ths, and 6/8 are equivalent fractions. Could you divide the numerator and denominator of 18 24ths by 4 to find an equivalent fraction? Why or why not?
So I have to really think about this. Can I do 18 divided by 4 and can I do 24 divided by 4? Well, I know I can do 24 divided by 4. That would give me 6. 18 divided by 4. There's nothing. 4 times nothing will give me 18. That's not going to be an even fact with no remainder. If I did 18 divided by 4, I would actually have a remainder there. So that doesn't work. The answer there would be no. Let's see. They're going to show us here. So that would be 4. We're going to see why this wouldn't work. If we put 4 boxes in each section, like they're saying, let's divide it into 4. We're going to see how this would actually not work, because if we do that, you will see here that we have, sure, you can divide it into fourths, right? That's what we're saying. 24, you can divide into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 even sections. However, look at this last box here. We have 2 boxes within this one area that are gray and 2 that are blue. This should all be blue if it was going to be divided equally. So the answer here would be no.
No, 4 is not a factor of 18, so it is not a common factor of 18 and 24. Can you divide the numerator and denominator by 2 different numbers? No. Dividing by 1, like multiplying by 1, does not change the value of a number. So you must divide the numerator and denominator by the same whole number, so you are dividing by 1. What is another common factor of 18 and 24?
And if you remember before,
Select
I
your
did some
answer.
work and I figured out that 6 was another common factor. I can't do 8 because I can't do 18 divided by 8. That would not work. I can't do 9 because I cannot do not 24 divided by 9, and I can't do 18 divided by 12. So you have to find a number that you can divide both numbers by that number. So I can do 18 divided by 6 and I can do 24 divided by 6.
6 is another common factor of 18 and 24. You could divide the numerator and denominator by 6 to find another equivalent fraction. Now you know how to use division to find equivalent fractions.